Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Glory Glory. Just wanted to do a quick reaction to the Leicester game last night, and Brish joins me here. So I have a few takeaways from last night's game. One of the obvious ones that is that we should have put the game to bed in the first half. United had the chances to win that game in the first half. Leicester, they looked like the team that are devoid of confidence and on our bottom of the table. Um, so one of the reasons why we didn't put the game to bed is because we didn't have a focal point. We have David De Gea kicking the ball long, and no one is competing in the air. I mean, Rashford just allows his marker just to go up and head it away. He doesn't even challenge, which is very frustrating. And once again, the defense won us the game. Um, the back four now is just picking itself at the minute. If when you can see the one goal in the last three games, Varane is just a Rolls Royce of a defender. Bruno was much improved last night. I was really impressed by him. But going forward, in terms of the Arsenal game, I don't want to see Rashford, Elanga, or McTominay start that match. I want to see Anthony and Casemiro come into the team, and maybe even Ronaldo too, because he's the only player that can really provide us, a focal point up front. So, Brush, what was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Again, defense stood out. I don't think anyone particularly did anything above and beyond. They all just were competent in doing their jobs. Out of the back for if I had to pick one out, it would probably be Varane. I was very impressed with him. He just looks very cool, calm, and collected. This is the Varane that we expected to see, the one that we saw at Real Madrid, that we were all getting excited about. I think that partnership with Martinez is really starting to flourish, and you can see it now in his game where he feels comfortable and he's taking up positions now as well where he's just anticipating things, and I love to see that.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him last night. I just hope he can stay fit. It just shows you what type of Ron will get whenever he's put through kind of a fitness regime in pre-season and he starts to play regularly. Then we start to get the Varane that we've seen at Real Madrid. Was last season?
Absolutely,
Last season was a
absolutely.
disaster, wasn't it? Was
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we all knew his quality. The key was obviously keeping him fit first and foremost, and then secondly is finding the right partner for him. And it looks like we've done that now. Like you say, the back four picks itself. And for me, the back four is one of those where, I like to see the least amount of rotation. So it's really important that these players start developing that understanding. And in the team selections over the last few games, I'm starting to see that with Ten Hag. I think he's trying to establish a first 11. And then, everyone else has to fight for their place if they want to claim a spot. So that's good to see. Because whereas before we were a bit all over the place, no one could definitively give you an 11 that will start.
yeah. Even in the Fergie days, the back four very rarely changed unless it was an
Yeah,
injury.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah, all the solid title runs we went on, it's all built on a solid, stable defense with minimal changes.
Yeah, and I'm even impressed with Diogo Dallo. I never thought I'd say that. What I really like the fact that he's getting close to people. He's cutting out crosses. He's showing great tenacity. And he's obviously worked really hard to improve.
Mm,
I love even the camaraderie between him and Martinez. Whenever he blocks a cross and goes out for a corner, him and
mm.
Martinez are bumping chests and celebrating the fact that they defended well as if they'd scored a goal. I really like that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really refreshing to see, especially because we've been devout of any kind of quality at the back for so long, and it's been an utter shambles. Now that it's looking a lot more organized, it is. It's nice to see that they're all working for each other, high fiving each other. Martinez responded to Varane's tweet, which I screenshotted it actually. I thought it was quite cool. Just yeah, I love to see a bit of that. Malacia as well. He probably didn't think he would get this chance early on, but he's claimed it with both hands. And yeah, I'm very happy with the back four.
Yeah, absolutely, and it picks itself
Mm.
at once you at the Emirates, but I mean at Old Trafford on Sunday, the back four. I mean, it's almost a shoe-in. Who's going to be in the back four at the
Oh,
weekend?
absolutely. I think yeah. I mean, my only concern before this game was because the fixtures are coming thick and fast. Would we see rotation? I'm happy that the players have stuck around, and hopefully they can see it through. And any rotation we do see, I'm expecting now to happen in the Europa League, which resumes next Thursday.
Yeah, I think Maguire and Shaw are going to be relegated to the Europa League this season.
Yes. I tell you what, on Maguire, you know what, I was half tempted to hope that Leicester would have come in for him yesterday. Because looking at their squad, they need a centre back, don't they?
Yeah, I think we were all hoping, but we never really thought that it was going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, no, it was just me putting two and two together, to be honest, because obviously they're sat on the Fofana money now as well. Johnny Evans is getting on, and they're playing DMs at centre back, so it made sense to me. But hey ho, we wait till Jan.
Well, didn't he get someone on loan from the Bundesliga to replace
I think
Fofana,
so. Yes, there was some guy that they got in.
And Brendan Rodgers was showing some dissent towards the board last night after the game. He wasn't happy with the transfer window. He's a man that's walking a tightrope right now because they're bottom of the league and he's having to go with the owners. I mean, it looks like a situation that's only going to end one way, to be honest, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few teams actually that are struggling. Wolves are another one where they've been let down in the window as well. They got in one or two quality players, but they've let out a hell of a lot as well.
By the way, I thought Johnny Evans was actually very good last night. At the tender age of 34, he was cutting out a lot of our attacks. I was very, very frustrated with Marcus Rashford last night. So many, I think he killed our attack 5 times in the first 5 minutes of the second half. And he just doesn't compete for headers, And De Gea has clearly been instructed to kick the ball long. And I see even when Ronaldo came on, he was winning a few headers, he was competing, and whereas the ball kicked up to Rashford, it just comes straight back again, and we're under pressure again. I just if he's going to play at all, it has to be on the left. And in my opinion, I think he should be on the bench at the moment. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, absolutely. He's not a forward. He cannot lead that line. He doesn't offer much up front, apart from in the final third if you get him on the end of things. But that's more so in a counter-attacking system. Like you, I prefer him on the left. This could be something that comes back to bite us actually, because we didn't get a striker on deadline day, and I felt that we needed one, anyone, just because obviously we can't rely on Martial to stay injury free. And Ronaldo, I was impressed with Ronaldo yesterday with his cameo. He looked to be getting involved. Bit of selflessness as well. I saw him trying to set up other players instead of just taking the shot on. The bicycle kick, audacious on another day that could have hit the back of the net. But yeah, again, at his age, like, can we rely on him week in, week out? I don't think we can. So yeah, that could be something that comes back to haunt us. The only thing I will say about Ronaldo, now that he is staying, I think he will get his head down and start working hard, if nothing else, because he will have the World Cup in mind.
Yeah, I think so too. If the bicycle kick goes in, that would have been added to his highlights reel of fantastic goals over the last 20 years. I was watching it in the bar, and there was so many people thought it was going in and all. Yeah, ooh, and it would have been unbelievable goal. But yeah, you mentioned them being selfless there. I think he got it wrong in both instances where he tried. Right, he tried to set up Ericsson when he should have shot, I think, and then he had a shot when he should have set up Ericsson.
Yeah, fine margins, isn't it? In the first half, actually, I was quite annoyed at the chance that fell to Bruno because Ericsson was open for that, and that one really Bruno should have looked up and just squared it to him.
Yeah, definitely. But I thought Bruno had a better game last night. He was doing a better job of keeping the ball and not giving it away too much. It was just I thought he played really well.
And the one thing with Ron, though, I don't know if you've noticed it, but this season it does feel as if age has started to catch up a little bit with him. I don't know. Like I've noticed it. Obviously, without a good pre-season, that's going to affect you as well. But I do feel like we've seen a decline now.
Yeah, when we have a counter attack, Ronaldo is part of it. He doesn't have the pace
No.
anymore. he's
No.
having to stop and play the ball back.
Yeah, exactly. You literally just have to get him. You have to spoon feed him. You have to spoon feed him inside the box to get anything out of him.
And even when he has a sprint or two, in those cameo appearances he's made the last 2 games, he looks
Yeah,
puffed.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. And then the lack of pace, and then I'm not sure if he has the passing range to drop back deeper to play him in a deeper role. So it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, but were you impressed with Bruno last night? I think a lot of the good things were happening were coming through him. He was working really hard, and he was, he was finding a teammate quite a lot, which he doesn't often do. Instead of playing the Hollywood ball, he was keeping it simple last night. I thought,
It's Yeah, it's been better than what we've seen up until that point, but there's still areas that I think he needs to fix. I mean, for me, that one key chance that fell to him, that just typifies Bruno. The fact that he was marked out, he came out wide to him, he had plenty of time, and then he still chose to just take a random shot instead of assessing the situation.
yeah, I think he'll always do that.
Yeah, but
In
this is the
games.
problem though, Carl, because obviously, it is a work in progress and we are grinding these results out. But, it's 1-0. It's a very tight game. So on another day, that chance that he squandered, that could be the difference between picking up 1 point and three.
Do you see when we go 1-0 up early in the first half,
Mm,
it just feels as if 9 times out of 10 we're going to be holding on to that 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, and the other team are going to be all over us, and it's going to be very nervy. I just seen it
yeah.
coming a mile off, because we just don't have the goal scorers up front to put games to
Mm,
bed.
yeah. Yeah. The only thing I will say though, these days, they look a lot more assured. So when they do make those changes and they try to shore things up, I'm confident that, we won't allow for mistakes to creep in. But yeah, it's a very tight rope to walk. 1-0 is a very dangerous scoreline, so you can't rest on your laurels really. But that is going to take time though. Hopefully Anthony will help improve our attack.
Definitely, we'll get on to Anthony later. So guys, get in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Solo Seven joined us, UFTV and Foot Mass Sports Talk. Says hello, Brush Earl, all good. Um, yeah, I'm sure that's someone. I'm assuming that's someone you know.
Yeah, Errol is solo 7.
Okay. Um, from now on, this is the front three that I want to see. This is just my opinion. Let us know what you think in the comments, guys. And Brush, you can let me know in a second. So, ideally, my front three would be, and starting with the Arsenal game, Sancho on the left, Ronaldo in the middle, and Anthony on the right. And I know Ronaldo's not going to play every game, so I want to see him rotated with Martial. And I'd only use Rashford and Alanga in the Europa League, or if there are injuries. That's the way I would like to see us going forward. I know Ronaldo's age is not ideal, but we really need a focal point up front. And Rashford is not that guy. I think Martial is obviously a slightly better focal point than Rashford, and suits playing as a number 9 more than Rashford in general. But yeah, I would rotate Ronaldo and Martial, and then would have Sancho and Anthony on the wing. So, what do you think, Rush?
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense, but I think Ten Hag is going to persist with Rashford until he has better options.
Oh no! Please don't tell me that. So, um, so you think he's going to continue with Rashford?
Yeah, that's the way I see it going.
Yeah, he keeps. I think a lot of people agree with me last night that Rashford should have been substituted, but he kept him on to the end, and he took Sancho off first again, which was a slight surprise. Sancho being the goal scorer. Why do you think is Ten Hag? Why do you think Ten Hag takes off Sancho first and leaves Rashford on to the end, despite the fact that Sancho seemingly is playing better in these games?
Uh, Only he can answer that question. I think a few of us are a bit befuddled on the Rashford front. He's not really shown anything, really, has he, to justify why he's in the starting lineup week in, week out. But it's just one of those things. I just think it's a lack of options. And I don't think that everything that happened with Ronaldo over the summer helped either. Otherwise, I think he may have started.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Rashford playing up front. Hopefully, Ten Hag gets the message eventually. Um, Elanga, what did you make of him last night? I just think he's just an average player. I know he's still young, but he doesn't seem like someone who's going to become a star at Old Trafford.
Yeah, listen, Ilanga's in the same bracket of footballer as Scott McTominay. It's one of those where, I'm not so critical of him because I know what he is. He's a squad option at best. Ideally, we probably should have loaned him out, but then I know Ahmad's gone on loan and he's there for squad depth.
UF TV says, I know Ten Hag seems to like Rashford, but I'm hoping he starts to realise, like he did with Maguire and Shaw. Yes, that's what I meant to bring up. With him, we won't be able to hold the ball up. There is games that suit his style. Yeah, like Liverpool, for example. Yeah, so he learned with Maguire and Shaw. Now I'm hoping he will learn with Rashford, but it seems like it's
Yeah,
going to
well, I
take time.
mean, you'd have to say lessons were learned fairly quickly with Maguire and Shaw. So yeah, I'm sure Ten Hag's thinking the same thing. In an ideal situation, I think he and us, we would all like to see Martial in that position. He's probably best suited to it. So just need to get him injury free.
Yep, definitely. So does Casemiro and Anthony come into the lineup on Sunday for you?
I think it's probably time for Casemiro to come in. Anthony, will probably start on the bench. I can't see him just walking in. Yeah,
Well, given that Casemiro hasn't walked in, it'd be hard to
yeah,
see Anthony.
exactly. Like he got half an hour yesterday. The last game he got 20 minutes before that. So yeah, they're settling players in the right way. So yeah, I can't see Anthony starting.
What do you make of McTominay's performance last night?
It was better than usual. I'll
Yeah,
leave it there. I mean, still, I think it's one of those where some people are really praising him, and I didn't see anything to get particularly excited about. Yeah, but for McTominay, he did all right.
yeah, I think he did okay, but there's still he just he commits too many fouls and he gets bypassed too easily. It seems to be in the second half. In the first half of games, we control it, and then our midfield goes to pieces in the second half. And that's why he had Leicester was starting to dominate possession at the start of the second half, and that's why Casemiro came on for Sancho so we could get a hold of the ball again. It just seems to be in that midfield with McTominay, Ericsson, and Fernandez. It just seems to tear in the second half. McTominay, he just isn't a natural number six. People go past him too easily and then he fouls them. He committed a foul right. You don't want to commit fouls right in the edge of the box when you're playing against James Maddison. I mean, he had a few opportunities last night. Thankfully, De Gea kept them out with his best one. I think one hit the wall. But yeah, you can't get free kicks away in the edge of the area when you're playing against Madison.
Yeah, he did well in the first half, and then gradually, as the game went on, his performance started to dip.
Yeah, and that's a common theme. McTominay seemed to fade in second half of games, and it's been very noticeable in the last few games that Christian Eriksen was struggling physically in the last 20 minutes of those games. And
I'll tell you what, Carl, this is something that we touched on, right? I did say with Eriksen, he's a fantastic addition to the squad if he's brought in as a rotation option. He's not someone with his health problems and age and everything else that can be relied upon week in, week out. You need to manage his minutes.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I suppose you can make the argument that he could come out of the team against Arsenal. Possibly Casemiro and Fred could come in and partner each other in midfield against Arsenal. I think it would be a good time to rest Eriksen because he struggled physically in the last 20 minutes of the
I'll
last
tell
two
you
games.
what, Eriksen has added some much needed class and quality into that midfield. His technical ability is next to none. I think the question that we all need to be asking is where the hell is Donny? Why are we not seeing him?
Yeah, I mean, if he's not, like I think I said this last year, if he's not going to play under Ten Hag, he's never going to play at Old Trafford, I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
pretty much last chance saloon now. You'd think, yeah, like you say, yeah, you'd think this manager of all managers would be you. There has to be a reason. There must be something we're not seeing.
Yeah, well, we'll find out in the long term, I suppose. But yeah, um, McTominay is not a long term option in midfield. Ten Hag is being loyal to him right now. It seems as if Ten Hag doesn't want to change a winning team. That's the impression that I'm getting.
I mean,
Um,
listen, if the team wins, then I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm sure
they,
we'll get onto it as well. I was a bit annoyed at one of our departures yesterday.
they were brilliant against Liverpool, and you can't blame them for
Mm,
choosing the same team in the next game. But those last two away wins were scrappy. We were lucky
yeah,
to get away with it, some might say. So that's not really a justification for picking the same team, I don't think. And when you're playing
yeah,
the league leaders who've won 5 out of 5, it'd be very risky to go with that 11 at the weekend. I would make at least a couple of changes. Um,
absolutely. And like we were saying, he's worked Casemiro in slowly. I think Sunday would be the perfect opportunity to start him.
yeah, I think so. And then obviously in in time, Anthony will come in for Elanga. You would think maybe not at the weekend, like
Oh
you
yes,
say, but yeah.
yes, yeah. The only reason he won't come in this weekend is because it's been, it's too soon. He needs, to get into the routine of things with training and whatnot. But there's no doubt Anthony walks into that team, especially based on what Elanga offered yesterday.
Yeah, he does. Elanga wasn't very good yesterday, and he's just a squad player at best. There's too many squad players still in the starting 11, which I don't like. It's
Yeah,
just,
but it's again that goes to our board and the lack of structure, doesn't it? Yeah, the summer was, I mean, it was an absolute shambles if we're honest. If we're looking at it just in terms of the actual profile of players that have come in, the caliber of players, like yeah, I'm quite happy. It's a starting point. It could have been better, but it is what it is. It gives us a solid foundation to build on. But there's a hell of a lot more work to be done.
so Footmoss Sports Talk says Elanga works hard. Rashford's starting to come good. Don't know about that. Sancho picking it up. If he can have Anthony and Sancho on the wings, well, that's dangerous. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. But we need something better up front. And their best option up front at the minute is a 38-year-old essentially. And he also says Casemiro starts. Anthony come on late to try and tie up the game for Arsenal. Well, I hope we're in a position to tie up the game later on against Arsenal. Um, I know I'm being very cautious here, but against Arsenal, I'd be happy just to avoid defeat, given how well Arsenal are playing. If you win the game, I'll be absolutely ecstatic. So, what's your thoughts on the Arsenal game?
Usually, I would go into games like this with precaution, but it is Arsenal, and I really want to beat them. So yeah, I'm gonna be optimistic. Screw them. As good as their start to the season has been, I've seen some flaws. They've shown character in overcoming certain results and coming away with the 3 points, but they've had scrappy wins too. So I really want to put them to the sword and test them out.
I hope this doesn't get clipped up, but Arsenal do have a reputation for coming to Old Trafford and crumbling, even when they're playing well. Just even go back to Marcus Rashford's debut. Arsenal, I think, were big favourites to win that game. United
Yeah,
were,
yeah. Rashi. Well, he pretty much made his name that day. I think he scored a brace that day, didn't he?
yeah, Arsenal, I think, were playing well at the time. United had a whole host of injuries, playing a lot of
Yeah.
youngsters, and United won the game 3-2. So that's kind of sums up Arsenal's recent
Mm.
past at Old Trafford. They don't. I think they might have had one win since 2006 or something at Old Trafford, something crazy like that. It's
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
poor record. And hopefully that continues on Sunday. But
Touch wood.
our strong back four that we have now is going to be tested against the
Yes.
likes of Jesus and Martin Odegaard and Martinelli and stuff. So it'll be interesting one to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
especially because they've got Saliba at the back now as well, and he's looking a lot more assured than Ben White did next to Gabriel. Yeah, and our lack of focal point is the one thing that worries me. But yeah, we'll have to hope for the best. I really liked Sancho's goal yesterday, the way that was taken, and that's how you get the best out of him. Sancho's not the type of winger that's just going to outpace people and get around them. So these are the kind of balls that you need to play into him to get the best out of him.
yeah, you do. He doesn't have electric pace for a young winger, but he's got plenty of ability on the ball. He's full of skill. Um,
Absolutely. If you look at the chance he took yesterday and the goal against Liverpool as well, that it's flashbacks to what he showed at Dortmund. And those are the kind of areas you need to get him in to get the best out of him.
Yeah, I said last night, if it had been Sancho setting up Rashford in that situation, I think Rashford just blasts the ball straight at the keeper. whereas
Yeah,
Sancho coolly took it round the keeper and slotted it into the net.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was so. Sancho is our top scorer so far with 2 goals this season. um, yeah. So I wonder who'll get the United's August goal of the month. Probably Bruno against Southampton. Or maybe Sancho against Liverpool because it's Liverpool. It's
Mm.
hard to know, but there's not many to choose from. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
there's not that many to choose from at the moment, is there? No.
No, definitely not. So I just come on to I just do a quick rundown of the player ratings as they always do. So De Gea would be a 6 from me.
Mm.
The back four, I would say 7 for Dallo, 8 for Varane, 7 for Martinez, 7 for Malacia. McTominay, I'll give him a 6. Fernandez a 7. Ericsson a 7. Ilanga a 5. Rashford a 5. And Sancho a 7. Yeah. So yeah, Casemiro. Yeah, we definitely give him a 7 for his cameo. Ronaldo possibly a 6 for his cameo. So, and Ten Hag was giving him a rating. Yeah, we won the game, and his substitutions got us over the line. So yeah, I'll give him a 7 as well. So, any disagreements there then, Push?
Yeah, no, I think I'm a bit of a harsh marker. So I did this yesterday, and I kind of started off with a template of sixes all round, and then when I looked at sevens, I was like, yeah, Varane stood out for me. Uh, Dallo again had a good game, and yeah, so yeah. But when I'm looking at what you said, yeah, it makes sense. The only two really that I was disappointed in, I'd say probably are Rashford and Ilanga, and then also with Sancho. Obviously, he scored the goal, but there are aspects of his game I'd like him to improve. He goes missing as well. I need him to turn up for the whole 90 minutes.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, he tends to sub Sancho off and after
Mm,
65, 70 minutes, and not really sure why that is because Rashford seems like the obvious person to take off when it comes. That's the way the supporters would see it anyway. But
yeah.
he tends to leave Rashford on to the end.
Perhaps it's because of Rashford's pace. Maybe he thinks Rashford
Pace,
offers
yeah,
pace. Yeah.
to offer an outlet on the counter attack.
Mm,
Yeah, makes sense. So the window ended yesterday, and United just got Anthony and Dubravka over the line, but those were signings we knew that were coming
yeah.
before yesterday. So there's nothing sensational that happened on the United front yesterday. So if you'd given us that window at the start
Mm.
of at the end of May, let's say, we'd have taken it. But it was just a shambles the way they went about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is. They just suck the joy out of everything. Even when they sign a player that we like, they find a way to mess it up due to their incompetence, be it overpaying or, just not doing the deal in time. Like, had we had this window at the very beginning and all of these players went on the preseason tour and they were embedded into the team, I think we would have a slightly more upbeat tone to this conversation right now.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the fact that they kind of pursued De Jong for like 3 months and then ended up with Casemiro. That really pisses people off as well, doesn't it?
Well, for me, it was actually after we signed Casemiro, I was like, do you know what? Frankie is now imperative. Now is when you go and get Frankie because now you've got a proper out and out DM. Go get a ball progressing midfielder and really fix that midfield because we've tried to just, we keep doing this thing year after year where we put a coat of paint on a wall that really needs replastering and we never really addressed the core issues. So I thought it was an opportunity missed. Um, it was sad because they did chase him the entire summer, and it's very disappointing to not have the player. Lack of plan B as well. So I'm just going to keep my eyes open for Jan and next season to see if there's an alternative or if they continue to pursue him.
There's some fans they would say they never want to hear the name Frankie de Jong ever again. And do you understand that?
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going away. It's one of those. We'll have to just see how it goes after the World Cup.
He doesn't want to come to United. That's be honest. His wife
Yeah.
certainly doesn't want to come to Manchester.
Mm.
So I think it's just better that we just look for an alternative. But because Ten Hag loves the player, we'll continue to be linked with him, in every
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, that's what it is, isn't it? Until we find an alternative, we're going to be linked with this guy. So we're just going to have to wait and see. So that was disappointing, and again, I was disappointed also to not see a striking option come in.
Yeah, and he done it once again, where Anthony was the target right at the start of the window, and they
Mm,
could have got him for 70, 80 million euros, and they ended up paying 100 million euros at the end of the window. That is the most
yeah,
United thing ever.
yeah, exactly. Listen, at the start of the window, we probably could have got him for pretty much half what we paid, and that's probably his actual value. So again, it's one of those. Obviously, if he hits the ground running and he does what he's supposed to do, then people won't really talk about the price tag. But from a business point of view, it's poor business, isn't it?
Yeah, and if he has a poor run of form,
Mm,
the price tag is going to be brought up by the media. They're going to be debating
yeah,
it on Gillette Soccer Saturday, on Monday Night Football, and we're never going
and
to hear the end of it.
again, I think the magnifying glass is always at Old Trafford as well, because if you notice, they don't talk about other transfers as much as they do ours. Like for example, Kepa is the world's most expensive goalkeeper, and he sat on Chelsea's bench, but we don't really hear about it.
Jack Grealish, never heard nothing about that.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, I guess with that, it's a thing where they paid the release. I don't think anybody thinks he's worth that much. So yeah. But Kepa, world's most expensive keeper, regularly benched, and nothing is said about it.
And Pepe at Arsenal, he was a major flop,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah. He's gone on loan. I think he's gone to Nice now. Bit surprising as well that Arsenal didn't replace him. They may come to regret that.
And since the last time we were on, Erling Haaland has got another hat trick.
Again, listen, every week this guy is just gonna he's just gonna make us cry, isn't he? Because we we talked about this, Carl. We talked about if we were properly structured, this is a guy that we should have been targeting. And it's over now, isn't it? The only hope that we have now as United fans is that in a few years' time he gets bored and Real Madrid come calling when Benzema is ready to call it a day.
I remember people saying that potentially, if he go, no way, Man City basically won the league for a couple of years without a proper striker,
Yeah,
and some people were saying if Holland goes in there, he'll score 50 goals, and other people were
yeah,
saying, well, he might ruin their setup because Guardiola doesn't like a number 9. It doesn't really suit his style of play, and certainly does it like a 6'5" big target man doesn't really suit the Guardiola style of football. So it might actually hinder Manchester City. Get
yeah.
out of here! I mean, the absolute opposite is happening. He is going to score 50 goals, isn't he?
Yes. Well, the scary thing is having won back-to-back titles without a striker, and now having one of the best in the world. You've got options. So the worrying thing for everyone else is they don't need Haaland. Like Haaland is a bona fide luxury for them. The fact that he got that hat trick in one half of football is crazy. Yeah. Half time I was looking at their bench, I was thinking, wow, they can literally just rest all their top players now and just relax.
And here's something that's even worse.
Mm,
Holland's not going to the World Cup, so he'll be able to put his feet up and rest for 6 weeks.
exactly. So he's going to be just raring to go in Jan. Yeah. And then this is the other thing, though. They don't need him. Even without him, they're capable of playing with a false nine. They're very comfortable in that setup. Also, the other guy that turned up, Julio Alvarez, one that slipped away from us because all of December we were linked with him. Ralph wanted him, £14 million. Zero risk at that price range for a player of his caliber and age. And he scored a brace as well. He's getting in on the action. So yeah, it's all
It was
looking
a nice
terrible.
game to bring him into Nottingham Forest at home. Yeah,
Absolutely, no pressure at all. And he killed it. And he's versatile too. He doesn't just play centre forward; he can play on the wings. I think he started off on the right when he came on, or when he started.
yeah, yeah. That was one that got away.
Mm.
It seems to be players that are linked with United and they end up going to City. They're stars.
Yeah,
Players that are linked with City and go to United, like Fred, it just doesn't work out. Like,
the one, the the ones where they stop. Yeah. I think that's the warning sign is when they don't get into a bidding war, when they have a cutoff point, and when they walk away from a deal, that should serve as a warning sign.
yeah, Maguire, another example. Yeah,
Yes, yes. Sanchez.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we beat them to Sanchez, Maguire, and Fred, and none of them have really worked out at Old Trafford.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
they're only just. It's you could be really cynical and say that they're linking themselves, Manchester City. That is, they're linking themselves to players in the hope that we go and buy them, and then.
Honest, do you know what? I'd love to say it was some sort of mad conspiracy, but honestly, I don't think they're even looking at us. Quite honestly, I don't even think they see the majority of Premier League teams as rivals. Really, you only have to look at the sales of Jesus and Sterling to Chelsea and Arsenal. They really don't care.
No. Um, yeah, and I think the league's over already. I know City aren't even top at the moment, but for me, the
Yeah,
league is over.
yeah, it's done. It's theirs to lose, isn't it? And yeah, I don't think any other team are capable of just going on a frightening run like they are. And their squad depth and quality and all of it, it just it's crazy.
Yeah, as long as Guardiola is there and they
Mm,
have a squad like that, I don't think anyone's going to win the league in the
yeah,
next few
and we
seasons.
probably would have said, looking at their squad, one area of weakness, maybe defense with Laporte out, and if they, don't have Ruben Diaz available, but then they went and addressed it. They went and got a Kanji, a guy that we were linked with when Ralph was here.
Yeah, Man City tend to make all the right calls in the
Yeah.
transfer market, but also it's a lot easier coming into a winning team than it is coming into a
Oh,
struggling team.
absolutely. But again, look at the deal. Akanji had a year left on his contract. They got him in for what, 17 million euros. It's very minimal risk. He's 25, 26, right age. Yeah, smart business.
Yeah, it certainly was. So everybody else is kind of vying for second place, really, and who
Yeah,
knows?
pretty much.
Maybe that could be us.
Listen, at the moment, it's looking very open, isn't it? I mean, I still think Liverpool. I expect Liverpool to fix up and get there, but it probably isn't as comfortable as a lot of people thought at the start of the season. With the way they've started.
Well, we're still above Liverpool 5 games in, so we'll
Yeah,
take that win. We'll take that win.
yeah.
um, Liverpool, they are an enigma. They draw the first 2 games. One of them
Mm.
against Fulham. Can't remember who the other one was. Then they lose at Old Trafford, was no one seen coming. United were 4-1 to win that game at home.
I think it was Crystal Palace. Is it Palace?
Crystal Palace, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
yeah, at home. Um, then they win 9-0 against Bournemouth,
Mm.
and then they get this 98th minute winner against Newcastle when there was only 5 minutes added on. Yeah,
Listen, it just it happens. We lived off Fergie time for a long time.
yeah, yeah. I just think Liverpool got off to a really bizarre start of the season, but they won the last 2 games. One way or the other, they've got over the line in those 2 games, and they'll probably pick up form now. But had they have not won that Newcastle game, you would start to question what's going on here.
Yeah.
I know things went bally wrong for Klopp in his 7th season in Dortmund, so there was some United fans were holding on to that kind of happening again in Liverpool, but probably not.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you need to add context to it as well because at that Dortmund team, he never really got a chance to push on really because at the peak, their best players kept going to Bayern Munich.
And nothing really has changed in the Bundesliga.
Yeah,
Um,
And then, well, now it's a thing where, you really need the financial backing to go with it to try and overtake City. And has he achieved all he can at Liverpool? Who knows? Time will tell.
yeah, he's won everything once now, I suppose.
Yeah,
But I suppose he'll want to kind of double some of those trophies up before he goes, but hopefully he doesn't
yeah. But
manage
then
that.
the thing is, as well, even in a winning side, you have to switch things up every once in a while. I think there's probably a few players in that team that are quite comfortable and not really had their positions questioned. And it's probably getting to that time where they need to switch it up a bit.
Yeah, I think Van Dijk is starting to look a bit arrogant now. He's
Mm,
started off the season very poorly.
yeah.
They're
I
not the
mean,
same team without.
last season for me, Matip was probably the standout.
Yeah, and he misses having him alongside him.
Mm,
They're not the same team in midfield when
nope.
Fabinho and Thiago are not playing.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
the
And
mid,
Fabinho for me, he's dropped off as well. I don't know what's going on with him, but yeah, that's been a bit surprising.
the Henderson, Milner, And Elliott midfield against us wasn't exactly scary, was it, for the United
Nope.
players?
But then last season they took players out when they played us, but then the system got them through. But then we were also an utter shambles. So I think it was a combination of things.
Carvalho starting to look very good though.
Yeah, yeah. Again, that was very good scouting. Very young lad. I think they picked him up for like 5 million.
Yeah, they did. That's good business. Munzie joined us. Yeah. So, anything further you want to add before we wrap it up, then, Brush?
Yeah. So there was. I want to touch on James Garner. The Garner deal for me was shocking. I can understand if the kid wanted first team football. If that's the reason, then loan him out. Why are you selling him? And also in this current market, this current crackpot market where 60 million bids for Anthony Gordon are getting rejected, why are we letting go of one of our young talents, homegrown talents, for such a minimal fee? It's not even 15 million up front, it's 9 million with add-ons. Ideally, I would have liked to have loaned him out in the hope that he had like a Conor Gallagher season at Palace. And then, I would have reassessed the situation at the end of the season to see if he could play a role. Or if you want to then sell him, then slap 40 million on his head. Like, we hear about English tax all the time. Well, United are the only club that don't charge English tax, apparently.
Yeah, the only argument you can make is that it's a financial decision coming from the hierarchy. But then again, his wages aren't that high. And like you
No,
say, 9 million plus add-ons is not a huge fee. So how
it's
is that breaking even?
yeah, it's shocking. And then between Romano and Lockhurst and people, there was mixed reports. So I don't know, because one of them tweeted out that there's a sell-on clause. The other one said there's a buyback clause. I don't know which is true. If either. But yeah, it's shocking bit of business all around. Only 21 years old as well. So I just think we pulled the trigger way too quick on that.
Yeah, I think every single fan would agree with that. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Who the fans wanted to see McTominay and Fred being phased out, not
yeah.
James Garner being sold.
Yeah,
It's
and that's the other thing, Carl. Like when we look at him, he's a DM as well. We've just bought one of the best DMs in the world, so who better to learn from? The kid would have been the perfect understudy.
Yeah, and he was at United since he was 7 years old, and he's just been pushed out without being given a proper chance
Yeah,
in first
yeah,
team.
it doesn't make sense to me. So very, very poor. I was very disappointed at that.
Yeah, well, he's gone to a bit of a basket case club, so it won't be all that easy to succeed. Um,
Mm.
can you understand why Nottingham Forest weren't informed? I mean, they signed absolutely everybody in the world apart
No,
from James
they
Garner.
signed. Geez, what was it? I think it was 22 signings or something in the end. It was crazy, crazy money.
Yeah, so 21,
21.
21 in and 22 out. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, madness.
they changed their whole squad.
I mean, listen, that step up from the Championship to Premier League is absolutely no joke. But yeah, it's very scattergun approach in the market. It's going to be, you're rolling the dice, aren't you? Really? If it works, it works. If it fails, then it's really going to come back to bite them, because what you don't want is to get relegated with a whole bunch of Premier League wages on your books. We've seen it go south at clubs like Stoke City, where they were trying to punch above their weight, and we've not seen them since they went back down.
Yeah, and I think 4 years ago, Fulham did something similar in the transfer market, almost changed their entire team, and it
Yeah,
backfired massively.
yeah,
And they
which
might,
is why there's clubs like Bournemouth who we know are not good enough for the Premier League, but they live within their means. Similar to a Norwich, I'd say, where they're happy to come up, try their luck, just get the parachute payments, and just keep yo-yoing. I mean, for their fans, I'm sure it's horrible and very irritating. But at the same time, from a business point of view, it makes better sense than doing it the other way, where you take a risk and then it could all go down the pan, and you're not going to be in the Premier League again for a long, long time.
yeah, I think the parachute payments are going to be reviewed now. Someone was making a joke on Twitter that the way new players they go through like an initiation ceremony of like singing a song in front of the whole group.
Yeah.
Somebody's saying that at Forest it's going to turn into Live Aid. Um, Yeah, they're not too far wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so massive disappointment getting rid of James Garner like that, but maybe it's not the end for him at Old Trafford. We'll wait and see how things work out.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. That's going to piss me off as well if we sign him back for a ridiculous fee.
You can bet your house we will
Yeah.
for 15 million. Yeah,
That's what's going to happen, isn't it? He's going to have a good season. We're going to go back in with like a stupid bid of like 50, 60 million.
yeah, and we'll end up wasting our budget on other areas and not signing a number 9 again next summer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's the other thing actually that we need to look for now. Obviously, next season, that's when Ronaldo and De Gea's contracts are up, so it does free up wages. So on paper, at least, it's a chance to move in a new direction. But then on the other hand, we've just given Casemiro 350 a week, so nothing's really changed.
Yeah, Casemiro is for the here and now. He's not for
Yeah,
building for the future.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there for today. Everyone, please leave us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. And we will see everyone again after the Arsenal game. Wait, see you later, Brush.
Take care.